Okay, let's start working on the rays, the lightning effects. I'm gonna type geo here, create a new container, and we're gonna call it Thunderbolt main. Let's dive inside. Now we're gonna learn about a node that we'll use very frequently when working with Houdini. It's object merge. I'm gonna click tab and type object merge. This allows us to bring into this geometry container, it allows us to bring geometry from other places. So in this case, here on the object, what I'm going to try to bring in is, I'll start with the geometry from Iron Man. Right now, what we're seeing is we're only seeing the other nodes because we have this option. They're ghosted, okay? Ghost other objects. But if we hide the other objects, we won't be seeing anything. And we actually need to have access to that geometry in order to establish a relationship of targeting that, of having the hammer targeting the Iron Man. So let's go up. Let's go back here to Iron Man. And in Iron Man, we didn't create any output. So what I'm going to do is just add the usual null that we're going to be calling out Iron Man Geo. Okay. And that way, if we need to reference Iron Man's geometry, we just need to look for this particular node. We can actually do the same thing for Thor's hammer. But in the case of Thor's hammer, we're actually going to be grabbing the geometry at object level. Okay. But let's start with Iron Man. So here on the object list, I'm going to click here. We're going to go to Iron Man. And as you can see, since it's capped, it's going to appear first on the list of nodes. Okay, Iron Man, accept. And now we have access to the geometry inside this node. The next thing I'm going to do is also import, I'm going to call this get Iron Man, and I'll create another one. And this is going to be get hammer. Let's display this. We still haven't selected anything, so let's select it. And as I said before, for the hammer, we're going to be selecting it at this level. Let's hit accept. And there it is. Now, you might be wondering, yeah, but the Thor's hammer wasn't at that position. For us to actually use the transformations that it has at object level, you have to specify here on the transform into this object. And that way it's going to have all the animation that it has at object level. Okay, so now we have both. If we merge both, we can see we have everything inside our ray setup. We're not actually going to be using the geometry for outputting anything like this. We're just going to be using this geometry to generate the effect. Now, the next step is going to be for us to choose which areas. Let me zoom out or get away from the camera. I'll start here with the hammer. Which areas of the hammer are actually going to be generating the rays? And based on the reference, it seems that the rays, the thunderbolts or lightning effects, are generated mostly by this top piece. So here on the hammer, I'm going to hit S and select just this face. It's going to be enough for generating the effect. And then I'm going to hit delete. This will place a blast automatically, and we can just invert the selection or invert the delete effect by deleting none selected. And now we have that face. And if you move, now we just have that piece of geometry, which is what we're interested in. This is what's going to be generating the lightning. Now on Iron Man, we're going to do pretty much the same thing. Let's go to Iron Man. I'm going to hit F to zoom on Iron Man. And on Iron Man, we're going to be selecting a few pieces here. I'm going to hit S. Let's start with the first area. We'll have two areas of target. We have one area on the chest and another area here on the arm as it starts trying to protect himself. So I'm going to hit S, and we're going to use for selecting these faces. We don't really need the faces behind, so we can just hit S and activate this option here. This allows us to select based on normals. So right now the spread angle is 60 degrees. Every primitive that has an angle below 60 degrees in relationship to its neighbors, it's going to be the selection, it's going to be keep expanding. Okay, we're selecting everything that has less than 60 degrees of angle between this first edge. And 60 degrees might be too much. Let's go with 30, probably enough. Yeah, I think this is a nice area here, the chest, around the chest. We can select this piece, something like this. Could be interesting for a first target area. You might want to include this as well. So yeah, let's say this is the first target area. So whenever you're done with the selection, just hit delete. And as you can see, we're going to do the same thing, delete none selected, and now we just have this piece. Now let's establish a second target zone here on the arm. We'll do the same thing, so S, make sure we're in primitives, the angle, spread angle, and let's select something like this, and maybe a bit here, maybe not there, but here, and here, here, something like this. Okay, I think this is enough. Hit delete, invert delete none selected. Now be careful with this, we really don't want this blast, the first blast, to be coming out of the second blast. We want this to be there. Okay, so we have this piece and we have this piece. Now we're going to define a frame where the effect, the target, is going to change from one point, from one area to the other. And for that, we're going to use another extremely useful operator inside Houdini, which is switch. I'm going to hit tab, switch, switch. And switch is great. Switch allows you to quickly go through different inputs that are coming into this switch. Let's say for now we're going to have this one and this one. Let's hit the display flag on the switch. And as you can see, it's going to be really easy for me to switch between input 0, input 1, or input 2, 3, 4, whatever. So right now we only have 0 and 1. So this is input 0 and this will be input 1. And we're going to make sure that this changes automatically. We'll use an expression here. Let's introduce a few, our first variable, our first global variable that's recognized by Houdini, which is $F. $F will refer to frame. Okay, so right now we're on frame 1. If you click on the select input, it's going to show you the value. And as you increase your frame here on the time slider, you'll see that it's always going to correspond to whatever you have there. Now, we don't really want to use this expression. We just want to tell it that to evaluate a condition, and if it doesn't meet that condition, then it's going to return the value 0. If it meets that condition, it's going to return a value of 1. And that way we can alternate automatically between this input and this other input. So the expression is pretty straightforward. Whenever our frame is bigger than 24, it should switch to the other one, to the second target area. I'm gonna say here, change the name, isolate chest, and here isolate arm, something like that. And as you can see, right now we're using this expression, and if I click here to see the result of the expression, we'll see we have 0. And as you move your time slider, you'll have 0. When we reach 24, we'll still have 0, but at 25 it'll change automatically to 1. Okay, and we'll have the arm. So if we decide that the target needs to change at another frame, we just click here and just change the number at which you want to change the target area. And this is what's going to be coming here. Okay, so we have all our both our geometries. Let's have a look at everything. We can't see the hammer because we're looking at it from behind, but if I turn on the points, we should be able to see them. Okay, so they're going to be, these are the two sections that are going to be interacting.